Hi, I'm Dave, and welcome to an Untitled video experiment thingy. I've been through a rough patch job hunting lately, and I realized that while I can do stuffy office jobs and nerdy IT things, I'm really most proud of my creative projects. If I could, I'd just make things for a living that were creative and have a lot of fun doing it. But my brain doesn't always allow me to do creative things with any kind of regular discipline, so that's why I'm calling this an experiment. I have a few big ideas that have been cooking for a while now, and this is kind of one of them, so I don't know, maybe you guys can help me come up with a show title. Comment or PM me your show title ideas and any kind of feedback you might have. I'm doing this at work. I know it's kind of ghetto. I don't really have a fancy background or any fancy graphics or anything, and I'm probably not going to even edit this. I'm probably just going to go from the top and let you enjoy it as much as you can. If it's really boring, then just don't watch it, because my show. So yeah, if you have any ideas for what I can call this thing, just give me a ring, comment, or PM, and let me know. But be gentle, okay, with your feedback. So first up on today's show, let's take a look at the Facebook news. You can find this on the right-hand side of your Facebook page in the trending news section. I'm just going to kind of read the news and talk about what I want to talk about. You have to listen to it, so... So first up, Amazon CEO Jeff Bezos is having a tough week. There's multiple news outlets that are giving employment at Amazon the thumbs down. New York Times expose depicted grueling, unreasonable, and psychologically damaging work conditions at Amazon, not just in the shipping warehouses, but in corporate too. In a statement released by Bezos today, he says the expose is full of crap, has it all wrong. Anyone who would continue working there under those kinds of conditions that were described in the expose would be crazy. Several other Amazoners have spoken up as well on LinkedIn and other places, just giving unofficial responses saying that they don't agree with those articles, that Jeff is right, that basically the employment there is pretty nice, that people are basically cherry-picking experiences from former employees who were bitter or angry at the company and using those to kind of fit their narrative that things are bad at Amazon. Who knows? Probably just the people that actually still work there. If you work at Amazon or know somebody who does, get them in touch with me, because I'd like to follow up on that later. Okay, thanks. Next up, Windows 10, Microsoft's new operating system. And this is being being reported all over the web, and they're getting it all wrong. But basically, the news story is that Microsoft's new operating system, Windows 10, is being listed as having the capability to disable older games with weak copyright protection technology. It can also disable any pirated games that it detects, and it's worth noting that basically this is merely just a section in the EULA, the End-User License Agreement, which pretty much nobody ever reads. I know I don't read them, you probably don't read them either. But before you get up in arms, several Reddit users have pointed out that this portion of the EULA may likely only affect the Xbox Live and associated Xbox content on Windows, but not Windows 10 itself. So, in other news, Norm Macdonald's taking over Daryl Hammond in the new KFC commercials because, well, Daryl Hammond's KFC Colonel was creepy as hell. I'm not so sure that Norm's version is going to be less creepy, but I'm pretty sure it's going to be more funny. Seen in a recent commercial, Norm's Colonel Sanders pokes fun at his predecessor, proclaiming that he's an imposter and Norm's is the real Colonel Sanders, who's back to tell us how to sell chicken. I'd love to see the Colonel get up to some dirty work-style antics, playing pranks on Hammond's Colonel Sanders, doing some real, spy versus spy tomfoolery. That'd be fun. I'd like to watch that. In politics today, a bunch of people said awful things about minorities and poor people and women and everyone else and blah, blah, blah. Vote for Bernie Sanders. That's all you really need to know about politics. Finally, special congratulations to the first female soldiers to complete Ranger School. They're set to graduate on Friday. There's no official word yet on whether or not they'll get deployed into combat as Rangers, but they'll definitely be wearing the Ranger tabs on their uniforms. So thanks for all that you do, ladies. That's all the Facebook news I cared enough to read about today. You could read more for yourself in the Facebook trending news section on the right-hand side of your Facebook page. Now I want to take a few minutes to talk about some of the TV that I've been watching lately. First up is John Oliver's Last Week Tonight. It's a brilliant take on the previous week's news, and more often than not, it's a thoughtful poke at the prominent social and political issues that are facing us as a society today. Last night's episode was no exception. After mailing multiple donations to a faith-based organization on television, John finally decided he'd had enough, and with some lawyers and his team, he's opened a completely legal nonprofit organization operating as a legal church called Our Lady of Perpetual Exemption, which has a real website and a real telephone number which you can call, and their purpose is to both mock and see how far they can legally go with collecting funds as a church operating the same way that televangelists and megachurches do. Any donations made may eventually be donated to Doctors Without Borders, according to the fine print on the website, so feel free to donate away. Two shows recently had their trailers, or not their trailers, their first episodes, the pilots, leaked online. Those two shows are Lucifer and Minority Report, and I had the pleasure of locating them online and watching them. Both shows were very highly entertaining. I think Minority Report picks up pretty well where the Tom Cruise movie left off. It introduces a great way for them to run the show as a police procedural with a sci-fi backdrop. Basically, Dashel, one of the precogs, after they've been taken out to the countryside, still having nightmares about murders and things, and he comes back to the city without his brother and sister, who are required for the full precognitive capabilities to work. So he can see the future, but he doesn't know names and doesn't see the big picture situation of what plays out. But he is able to work with a police officer, and they start trying to solve murders and crimes before they happen. Sometimes also he helps out with things that have already happened if they happen to miss that deadline and don't stop it in time. I think that's pretty cool. Lucifer is a playful and fun, delightfully evil, and it has a great redemption story playing out for the fallen angel Lucifer. I think it has a very interesting kind of feel to it. Also kind of lends itself to a police procedural type show, but it's playful and fun. It's got a lot of supernatural stuff going on, and it's got that guy from The Matrix in it, who was also in Oz, and was also in a short that I saw the other night on Hit Record on TV. More about that in a minute. The last show I want to talk about is Mr. Robot, which, holy crap, is a show about hacking that not only uses parallels to real-world events. It has a parody group called F Society in it that is supposed to be sort of like Anonymous, even wears a mask. It doesn't look exactly like the Guy Fawkes mask that Anonymous uses, but it sort of looks like the Monopoly guy, which is funny. But it also uses legit hacking techniques to accomplish their goals in the show, which I think is great. Instead of using fake CGI or some sort of made-up tomfoolery, they use actual DDoS and man-in-the-middle attacks, and they talk about two-factor authentication, things like that, and how it's difficult to circumvent. And it's all very realistic, which I appreciate as a computer nerd. The show's main character, Elliot, suffers from schizophrenia, and while I'm glad the show treats the condition more appropriately than most, it has become a more apparent plot device, which I think is kind of a slippery slope, but I feel like we can expect some level of realism, but also some ableism towards non-neuronormative folks. I like the show so far, but I'm still cautiously reserved until I see how it all plays out. We don't really need more dangerous stereotypes floating around. Some of the other shows I'm watching include HBO's Ballers, which has The Rock in it, The Brink, which has Jack Black in it, True Detective, and I'm not really loving the second season of True Detective, but I'm kind of hanging in there anyway. I know the final season episode has already aired, but I'm still catching up, so don't spoil it for me, alright? And finally, I've been watching Hit Record on TV, and season 1 of that is on Netflix. It's a Joseph Gordon-Levitt open online collaborative project, and the first couple episodes, some of these short stories and songs really give you the feels, and I really like that. It's very creative. Some of the amazing illustrations in HD are just beautiful to watch. It's just a really fun show, and I recommend watching it. Most of the rest of what I've been watching is newer versions of shows that have been around for a while, just newer seasons of those shows. That includes things like Hell on Wheels, Civil War train show, I like that a lot, BoJack Horseman, Netflix original, Cutthroat Kitchen with Alton Brown and his tomfoolery, and special mention goes to Bob's Burgers and Archer, which I've slowly been catching up to the new seasons in my spare time. So that's all the TV I've been watching. This has been fun today. I don't know how regularly I'll do this, but if there's interest and I have time, I'll definitely put some more effort into it. It makes me feel good. It makes me have more motivation to produce things if people like it. So no pressure, but you can just click that little like button if you like it, and that's cool with me. Comment, give me your feedback. pats on the back are nice, but I also like specific constructive feedback. So yeah, anything you want to say on this would be great. I get a little nervous. I'm sorry if I ramble on, but hopefully the next episode will be better, and eventually I'll do something fancy with this, like add graphics and sound, and maybe show my screen once in a while. That sort of thing. So, all right. Well, this is it. Hope you enjoyed this completely unedited, lazy thing that I put up today on Facebook. Bye.